I just love this cute little picture. So here we are talking about the missing piece, PEACE. And what exactly is that missing piece? Well, it's what we call the invisible operating system. It's a way for us to reclaim our peace, our power, our purpose without leaving the profession that we love. And speaking of which, yeah, maybe we should just introduce ourselves a bit more formally. My name's Lyn McCright, and I am both an adult and gerontological nurse practitioner. Teresa and I both are adjunct faculty at Texas Wesleyan University. The program that we offer there is the Nurse Coaching Introduction to Nurse Coaching program. Teresa?
So I am Teresa Walding, and I have been a nurse for a very long time, 32 years. My background is ICU. I did quite a lot of rehab. I opened a geriatric psych unit and met all of my, quote, problem patients as my first patients in my unit. And much to my surprise, I loved it. And then I worked post-anesthesia recovery and OR, and I'm a lifelong learner, so I did all the holistic modalities and holistic medicine, and I love all of it. I love all the parts of the ways people heal, and I always kept missing just a little piece of why the modalities didn't work. And as you'll learn a little bit about what our program is tonight, the missing piece is really how our thought works and how it really does inform everything that we do, everything we see, and our own internal physiology. So we can't be without it. And when we actually understand how that piece works in our lives, we really can impact people on a very deep level. So this masterclass tonight really is a time out for us to take a deep breath, to come into the room and breathe again. And I want you to dream a little bit. What do you really want to do with your career? This is your practice. You get to choose how you show up as a nurse.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Teresa, because in conventional nursing today, we don't get to choose the people that we work with. But as a nurse coach, we do. We have the opportunity to decide exactly who we want to work with.
Yeah, yeah. So you're in the right place here tonight. If you're tired, overwhelmed, you're silently asking yourself, how much longer can I do this? How many times have you said that? I don't know how much longer I can do it.
Yeah.
And, we feel unseen and really underappreciated. I used to have a friend and she goes, no one even acknowledges us, and I never thought too much about it, but the more I reflect on what she said, she's right. I knew that patients would come back and say compliments about who took care of them in the recovery room, and no one ever told me that they came to say something, except for my daughter, who actually worked the front desk out there. And she goes, a lady came up today and wanted to know who took care of her in the recovery room. And I knew it was you because of what she said. She said, my biggest fear is that I wouldn't be okay. And every time I woke up, she said, you're okay. And she said, that was the best thing anyone could ever say. I took that to heart, and that helped me a lot. So I realized that need to be appreciated for what we do is a real thing. But, we've also just given and given and given until there's nothing left to give. And that's where we find nursing today is, Michelle took a sabbatical, and Catherine, you're trying to figure out your next steps. So we know we've hit that wall. Like, I don't want to quit nursing, but I want to know what's next. So if you're craving more peace, more purpose, and possibility, you're in the right place. This is a really, really exciting time to be a nurse.
The most exciting.
It is.
So today you're going to hear about why it is that burnout is such a signal and absolutely not a personal failure. I just love picture
Yes.
that Teresa found for this slide, she's such a shining example of somebody who's looking ahead, enthusiastic about what she sees, and big smile on her face. So she knows the best is yet to come. A simple reset that you can use immediately. We're going to share that with you. The calm reset. We're going to talk about what inner healing looks like for healthcare professionals. That's actually our area of expertise, and what sets us apart from the other programs in nurse coaching, and how nurse coaching restores our calm, our clarity, and our calling. Our calling is our profession.
Yeah. So here's our lovely picture so you don't forget what we look like. But we're the founders of Advancing Nurse Coaching. We're board certified nurse coaches, and we really are dedicated to helping nurses heal themselves first from the inside out. Because, Lyn, I love how you say the tenets of holistic nursing.
Okay. Well, there are three, and the holistic nurses, when they started 43 years ago, determined that they have three priorities. The first of which is the tenet that says we treat patients as a whole, body, mind, and spirit. Secondly, we do include alternative modalities as appropriate, and they may not be appropriate. And then thirdly, which I just still am astonished that it should be number three, take care of the nurse first. And I reflected on that a while back, and I thought, my word, how do we do that? And then I realized, well, just go back to the first tenet, treat ourselves as a whole, body, mind, and spirit. Take care of the nurse first.
So just a little history of why it matters that we're here now talking about what's next in nursing. Because as we know, since 2020, the record amounts of stress and compassion fatigue, we hear about it every single day. And the staffing shortages across the country, 37% of nurses left the hospital. And so then it leaves me paused, like, well, where'd they go? What are they doing? Are they working somewhere else? Did they just leave nursing altogether? And from what I can find on the internet, a lot of people just left nursing altogether. That left me thinking, like, who's going to take care of me? Because I'm of the age where, maybe someday I'll need some nursing care, and I really want nurses to be there for me. So I think finding our resilience and our purpose and our calling again is really what I think nursing is coming around to find again. We're banding together. People are doing projects together again, which I think is wonderful. But truly brilliant nurses are quietly walking away. When they call it quiet quitting, have you heard that term? They just disengage and stop worrying about going to work. They're like little robots. And one of my friends at work, she was like, the apathy is palpable. Like what happened to us? And I want to do something about that. And I think nurse coaching is a pathway to do that.
One of our students describes her colleagues as ghosts.
Yeah.
And the picture on the right that Teresa has found sort of illuminates that. I mean, somebody's absolutely missing. There may be a pair of legs down there underneath, but
barely.
that nurse is gone.
Yeah. So the world needs us, but they need us healthy, happy, and whole. And I really see a lot of nurses going back into the community. Quite a lot of my friends are nurse coaches, and they're loving their work again. They're helping the people they choose to help, whether it's navigating the healthcare system or, teaching them how to eat well. It's all available for us as nurses. What makes your heart sing? What do you like to do that you could do every day and not be sad about it? So understanding the reality of what nursing burnout is and why it's here, it really comes back to our thoughts about our jobs, our thoughts about what's happening in the world. And we give up our agency when we don't recognize that we actually do still have choices within that realm. The paradox is that we have such big hearts, but we have a lot of empty cups out here, you know, um, because we give, we soothe. One of the most amazing nurses that took care of me when I was 18 years old, who I still cannot see her face in my mind's eye, came in and said, I can see you're having a hard time, so I'm going to come in here and sit with you as soon as I pass these medications, and I'll chart next to you. And she said, you don't have to talk to me. Now, how many people do that? And I actually, when she left, I didn't really expect her to come back. And about 15 or 20 minutes, she did come back. Me being 18, not really knowing what to say, turned my back to her and never felt more cared for in my life. I fell asleep. I don't remember anything else. I do remember that she had BSN RN after her name. And I told myself, I want to be like her. And I think I am like her. I think I did achieve that. And that's a powerful thing. She doesn't even know she did that. It's important. There's people that will remember you that you have no idea the one thing you did made such a difference in their life. You know, but we carry this heavy weight around right now. And I really think the tide is turning. We wouldn't be having this conversation if nurses still didn't want to nurse. But we have to do our own healing first, and because we can no longer postpone the healing.
Well,
And
and I love the cup image because those things that look so innocent and so small are the most important thing in feeding our our souls. Reflection, physical nourishment, mental nourishment, spiritual nourishment, connection with others and family, alone time. How precious is that? Being creative, what fun. There's just so many opportunities that we have as women today to be in a creative mode. Take advantage of that. Enjoy nature, enjoy movement. You know, they say that sitting is now the new smoking. So movement is such an important part of our lives. And nurses conventionally have never had a problem with that, running up and down the hallways. But as more of us have adopted a, um, a lifestyle of being at the computer, then movement becomes even more important. And I just think it's interesting, Teresa, that rest would be at the very bottom. You know, it's like it's a natural physical human need. And it's like we do put it last. If we don't get 8 hours, do we even get seven? Do we get six and a half? It's just something that as a society we really have to address. I think that they say that that the numbers, and I don't know, you know, what the percentages are, but that by far and away, the majority of people are under rested today. Is it no wonder we have so many conflicts, so many disagreements, so many judgments that people are at odds with each other? We're not rested.
Johnny needs a nap.
Johnny needs a nap, right?
You know, and that leads us, this isn't news to you guys, but burnout looks different, I think, to different people, but most people don't recognize emotional exhaustion. They just think they're tired. But emotionally, you know, there is a thing called decision fatigue. In nursing, there was a study that came out that says we do 667 tasks in a 12-hour shift. That's a lot. But I could see it. And then we're irritable and we have sleep disruption and we wonder what's wrong with them, the other person. We don't even look at ourselves. You know, we're just making it through the day. But that loss of empathy or joy, I think that's one of the places that I saw people not really caring about the patient, much less their colleagues. And I thought, we really do need to understand that the only way we experience our colleagues is through the way we think about life. So if we're thinking that about them, the reality is we have to take a look at ourselves. And we know that when we're depleted, everything looks worse than it really is. But, we still sit there and wonder, is this all there is? Is this what my life is going to be? I sat for years in the PACU, and I told myself every day, I love this job. I love this job. But there were nights when I was sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning on call, and I'm like, I am exhausted, and I got to be back at 7 in the morning. And we know that we're doing this all the time, but it just looks normal to us. And one of our good friends, Dr. Pettit, he goes, just because it's normal doesn't mean it's right. And I think that's true. So if you've asked yourself these questions, we all know we're not alone. But the solutions are up to us. And that's what becomes very exciting as we start talking about nurse coaching. The fatigue, the guilt, the physical symptoms, the disengagement. We've talked about all of this, the apathy. The other thing that we don't really think too much about, because I think all of us are on hyper alert to errors, but sometimes we don't even know we're making them.
Well, that's what an error is.
I know, but
unintended consequence.
Unintended, but we're such alert to it, we're surprised when it happens, right? And I think one places we don't talk about a lot either is our spiritual connection, loss of that meaning of life. A lot of people have given up their faith-based practices because of exhaustion, but it's really that connection with other people that gives us that energy, especially when we're being nourished by the relationships that we have. But the bottom line is burnout doesn't mean we're broken. It may feel that way, but it just means we're human and we are very much overdue for renewal. And I like one person told me one time, they said, burnout is when you overgive and you don't take anything back from the patient. And I think we get caught up in that sometimes. And nurse coaching allows a give and take because it's an intentional conversation between people where we are as nourished in the conversation as the client. So burnout doesn't mean weakness. It just means that we've been caught up in a system that we didn't know we were creating with our own thinking, but it's whispering to us, please stop. Something deeper is needed here. If you've ever listened to what your body actually wanted and listened to what you needed and did it, we always feel better.
So section 2, and here it is, the pathway. Doesn't that just look refreshing? It's one step at a time and going to a very relaxing spot. But from there, anything is possible. You can see forever. And so we're really discovering through our own personal insight, practical ways that we can restore calm, clarity, and purpose in our personal lives and in our professional work.
So the path to renewal really is becoming aware of our thinking, aware of what our body is saying to us. Where do we feel our deepest knowings? There's a term in the holistic nurses called informed knowing. How do we know what we know? That's what happens when we actually get quiet enough to hear it. And it's the compassion to really be aware of what's happening around us, to respond with kindness and not criticism. We just never know what's going on in someone else's life. But when we start looking for the good in people, when we start realizing that maybe life doesn't look exactly like we thought it did, and we consistently bring daily habits of self-care, of noticing the beauty around us, taking time to smell the roses a little bit, really that's what begins the foundation of nurse coaching, putting us back into alignment with how life really works. And it's not running day after day after day. It's becoming present to your life and making choices that really create the environment that you want to live in. And when we know how to do it for ourselves, we can help our clients and patients do that too.
Well, and Barbara Carper was the one who wrote the article about ways of knowing. And it's just a classic. And what it basically comes down to is what we've always traditionally called nursing intuition is now being recognized as informed knowing. There actually is a basis for the knowledge that nurses share. If a person is in the bed, potentially having a heart attack or stroke, and the family members are there, an experienced nurse has been known to be aware that something physiological is about to happen just by looking at the faces of the family members.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a different kind of wisdom than what has been acknowledged before.
So one of the things I thought we would try tonight is a 60-second reset to see what it feels like to actually drop into your body, into your knowing, and slow down just a little bit to notice that space where there's actually quiet. So if we can just pause for one full breath, just a nice easy breath for yourself. And it might take a couple just to sort of center and notice that you don't actually have to do anything to take that breath. That breath is actually breathing you. It's kind of a slow in, maybe a slower out. And notice as you're focusing on your breath that your mind will naturally quiet. Just allow it to do that. Notice when your shoulders soften. Release your shoulders. Do you feel how your chest opens up a little more when you're not holding your shoulders tight? That breath is actually spirit moving through us. We don't have to do anything to do that. It's available, it's quiet, and in that stillness, everything is right. When you're ready, I'd like you to open your eyes and come on back into the room. How do you feel? You feel a little different?
One of our immediate past presidents of the holistic nurses, it actually prescribes 10 minutes of doing nothing for her clients. 10 minutes every day, do absolutely nothing.
You know, that as you reflect on just the sensations in your body, the fact that you could literally release the tension in your shoulders and feel your breath, that's actually the space where we can have insight and an inner shift. That's the perfect time for us to connect with wisdom and allow us to see what comes up for us. When you're in that state, you can ask yourself questions and then listen for the answer.
Well, and I do want to say that it can be in the middle of a tragic emergency also. It doesn't have to be sitting on a pillow in your room quietly. It can be at any moment in time. But we actually know that we carry that peace inside of us. And it's always there, available to be tapped at any moment in life.
I used to do that in the bathroom. How many of you gone to the bathroom to do that? And just
The peaceful place.
go in there and just be quiet just for a minute. The other thing that I used to do was when I would go into the bathroom, I would actually look into my own eyes. to see myself, because it seemed like I could see why I was still there, why I was still working as hard as I was. And I wanted that inner person, that inner being of me to come out and be that healing space for other people. And for some reason, doing that helped me do that. Kind of a weird thought, I guess, but that was what works for me.
Teresa actually took a picture of herself after a 36-hour weekend, and the eyes were just remarkable. She said it was one of the most intense weekends of her career, and yet she felt like the teamwork, the camaraderie, the patience, everything just came together as a whole. They didn't have time to think. It was just too
Yeah.
busy. And every moment was exactly how it needed to be to take care of everybody that was in their charge.
So why the deep breathing works? Because it actually lowers cortisol levels. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and it regulates our emotions. Most people don't really know that. And it helps reconnect to that inner clarity. And truly, we use our inner clarity all the time when we're not using our intellectual thinking. That's actually what gets in our way, is when we're trying harder and harder and harder and harder to figure it out. It's when we stop and slow down that we actually can find our answers much more quickly. So this old model of pushing harder and ignoring yourself, it's gone. It's an old paradigm. We do not aspire to it anymore. Too many people have figured out it didn't work. And the new model is to pause and listen and to lead from our inner calm. Because when we know where we're going, we can help lead the way for others. And it's a really fun place to be, on the leading edge of something new like nurse coaching. It's only been around for 10 years, but it's finally gaining momentum. So that's a very exciting time. We get to move from fixing to facilitating insight, because we know that insight is really the only place people ever change. If you ever ran in the room and handed all the discharge instructions, say, do this, do this, do this, do this, poof, out the door. And then you get home and you're like, I don't really know what to do. And by actually helping people in the calmer way that we can in nurse coaching, it's a completely different conversation. But we also create that space for healing. Now we can do it in a few seconds. We've all walked in the room and calmed the patient long enough so they could catch the next breath. But to be able to connect to the joy and the confidence and the purpose that we have in our lives, that's what feeds our soul. That's what feeds my soul. I love the feeling of knowing that I made a difference in someone else's life. That is the best feeling in the world. And when we learn that we don't have to do it for someone else, that they actually have the same wisdom in them as we have in us, it really helps everyone on our journey. And life becomes just a little bit easier.
Well, and go back to that last line, Teresa. Just clarify what those words mean.
What do you mean? That life gets a little bit easier?
The last line, just read it.
Oh, to learn the inside out approach that restores clarity naturally. Um, in our program, we talk about how thought works a lot, because we know that thought is the most powerful thing in the universe, and it's the first thing that's overlooked. We say, oh yeah, I know, I think, and then we go and use our thought to say something maybe we shouldn't say, or judge someone else for saying what they say. But when we really understand this inside out nature, and that we actually have a responsibility to use our thought correctly, and when we do, clarity comes and a natural ease appears that really we didn't notice before. And the time this came the most true for me was sitting in a conference the very first time I heard about what we teach, which we call the three principles. I was struggling a lot. Worry will kill you. It's very heavy. And I was worrying every single day about my husband, my daughter, my other daughter, and as nurses, don't we pick up the pieces for everybody and try to hold the whole world up and do the best that we can. But I didn't know that I was creating an environment in my own body that was literally breaking my body. I had chronic pain for about 5 years. And that was the time I started telling myself, I don't know how much longer I can do this. And at that conference, I heard something about how thought works that rocked my world. I didn't know that I didn't have to worry, that my family knew exactly what they needed in spite of me. And that was news to me. I felt that shift in my whole entire body, just like a lightning bolt. Went down my back, out my hands and feet, and I went, oh, something happened here. But the weirdest thing that was, I felt like light as a feather, like the whole weight of the world was just gone. And I knew that we had touched on something in all the modalities and all the training and all the classes I had done for 20 years did not prepare me for how understanding how my thought works that freed me from a life that I didn't know I didn't have to worry about. And that was the day this class was born. Lyn and I both heard it. And that's the foundation of this coursework is understanding how the mind works and how that directly affects physiology. It affects relationships. It affects everything in our lives.
Thank you. So now you've tasted the beginning of what we have to offer. So let's show you the next steps. What if one day you could restore your calm, clarify your passion, and remember who you really are? What if you ended 2025 grounded and begin 2026 absolutely aligned? So, introducing the healing shift, we're going to be doing a special master class virtually on December 30th. And it's a one-day transformational event on Zoom. We'll be starting at 10 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast and all, time zones all the way across. It'll be about 6 hours and we'll have time for lunch and break time. We're absolutely going to be good to ourselves and take care of our bodies while we're together on Zoom. I just think that this day of transformation will be such a wonderful introduction to what it is that we have to offer in our nurse coaching space. And we're absolutely unique in that we're the only school that offers anything like this. And we're going to be having some additional speakers that I think you'll find very inspiring. The other part of it is that we may be making an announcement about a new level of interacting with our students that will be available in 2026. Teresa?
So at our one-day masterclass, we will be sharing our method with you. We will be reconnecting with the heart of nursing, rebalance your own energies and your emotions, and do a few exercises to dream, to see what you want to do. Get the creativity and the juices flowing about what's possible for the next steps in your nursing career. If you could wake up every single day and do exactly how you want to do nursing, you could do it for the rest of your life and it would be play. That's what I dream for nurses. But we're going to redefine also how we communicate, lead, and influence not just our profession, but those around us, because nurses have the power to really change healthcare systems. We're doing it now. There's a lot of nurses who are bringing coaching programs into universities, into their hospitals, and into their communities. They're actually creating freestanding clinics, if you will, but it's all coaching. So the rise to new possibilities includes nurse coaching as a board certification, which gives us credibility in our profession and elevates us in a way that hasn't happened in a very long time. They did a study, I guess it was a 10-year study of trying to make nurses more visible. And after 10 years, we are less visible now than we were 10 years ago.
Including the years during the pandemic.
I
I mean,
can't
if
even
we
believe
weren't
that.
visible then, when
Yeah.
are we ever going to be visible? But what I realized this week is it's because the public has never actually paid a nurse directly, unless you had a private duty person who was working with a family member in your home. No member of the public has ever directly paid money to a nurse, because when the hospitals set up the system, everybody knows, well, nurses know that people come to the hospital for nursing care. They don't come to the hospital for doctor care. They could see the doctor at the clinic, but they're in the hospital for the nursing care. We are healthcare. We're Without us, healthcare does not exist. And it's time that we stood up and claimed that. 60% of nurses at this moment still do work in a traditional setting in the hospital, but so many more are out in the community. Certainly, lots of nurse practitioners have their own practices. We see school nursing moving into the aspect of mental health as being beneficial to their students. We see the hospice and end of life people working so directly with the patients and the families. It almost seems odd, but not really, because in the end of life, there are so many decisions to be made and relationships to be healed. It's a wonderful area for nurse coaching. And I love the fact that all nurses in every clinical area, in every age group, are able to sit for the national board certification as a nurse coach. No exceptions. Registered nurses all can sit for the national exam.
So the offer is, the tickets, we're selling them for $27. We've actually sold them, but because you're here tonight, we have a special code for you. Lyn's going to drop it in the chat. It's Thrive, so you can come for free. And just join us for the conversation and find out a little bit more about us and what we teach in our program, and really network and meet other nurses who are looking for something new for their career as well. Why did we pick December 30th? Well, why not? It's one of those places where, everybody has a New Year's resolution, but, it's the perfect time to reset, to really make your plan for the next year. To finish 2025 emotionally renewed, and to step into 2026 with calm, clarity, and confidence. And maybe pick the word that you want to lean into for the next year. For 2 years in a row now, I picked one. The first year I picked quantum leaps. What was it? Massive action and quantum leaps. And that actually came true. That was crazy. There was a lot of learning and doing and changing. And then this year was strategy. And I thought, how do we strategically create a space for nurses to thrive? Not just in our career, but in our lives and in our pocketbook. It is time for nurses to step on the stage and get paid what we're worth. I fully believe that. It's a new world when we start thinking of nurses seeing clients on their own. I know nurse practitioners do, but they're still not, most of them, some states, I guess that's true, they are independent practice. But bringing the coaching conversation is really what moves the needle forward, especially in the chronic care space. I talked to a guy on the phone the other day, and he was trying to sell me something, which I love those conversations because that's kind of fun. And I told him what we were doing. He goes, "Oh, I know all about that. I've had 13 surgeries on my arm." And I said, "Oh, has anyone asked you how you're doing with that?" And he stopped and he's like, "No one's ever asked me how I'm doing." and he started crying on the call. And I was like, so I know just one little tiny question on a random call made a difference in his life. So for today, the fast action bonus is you get to come to the masterclass for free if you would like to sign up and say you'll be there for as much of it as you can. And if when you do that, you'll receive a reflection journal made by me about a little bit about what we teach in our coursework as far as a reset and tuning into ourselves and seeing what's there for us to let our wisdom come up and let us know this is the right direction for me, whatever that is. I want you to dream a little and decide, if you could have anything you wanted in your nursing career, what would it be? What would it look like? What would it feel like? Can you almost taste what it might be like to interact with your clients in such a way that you know that every time you had that conversation, you left someone better than they were? And you knew it for a fact. And then Lyn has something that she likes to read that I just absolutely love. It
Well,
feels
I don't
like,
have it, Teresa. I failed to provide that for ourselves, but we will send it out. I'm not going to be able
oh,
to read
okay.
it
Yeah,
tonight,
we'll
but we
get it.
will
No,
send it.
we don't need to read it tonight, but you guys can listen to it. She read it the other night in class and it was just absolutely breathtaking. Just to feel into that feeling of calm and listening to the wisdom that came through and the feeling of just knowing you're in the right place with the right people at the right time.
Well, and I want to say that the woman that authored that actually was director of nursing in Saudi Arabia when they had a terrible contagious outbreak, and she had to um, keep all of her staff in the hospital for 2 months. 2 months. They were not allowed to leave because it was so contagious, and they knew that they had to contain it. So that experience is something that she tells us be writing about. But she has such a depth of knowledge of the principles that we talk about, and that really was what carried the day when she had to keep her staff isolated for that, I mean, 8 weeks period of time, and not leaving the physical hospital facility. Everybody had to stay.
So calm begins the moment you say yes. So the program to the purpose, the 4 pillars of the healing shift that we already spoke about this a little bit, but it's to reconnect and remember why we became nurses, to rebalance and heal from the inside out, redefine what coaching conversations that we can have that transform lives, and then a pathway to purpose, prosperity, and a nurse coach board certification. So we'll lay out that path at the healing shift on December 30th. It's for registered nurses and advanced practice nurses. To sit for board exam, you have to have 2 years of nursing experience. If you're craving the freedom, the flexibility, and fulfillment of being in practice as a nurse the way you want to do it, this is the place to come. If you're feeling burned out or restless, Lyn said, when we were talking about the slides earlier, she said, that's what it was for me. It was restless. I knew I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what. And, it's worth checking out a new path to see if it's meeting the expectation of what you want to create for yourself. And really just to rediscover your clarity and your calling. I didn't even know I needed to do that. When I heard about nurse coaching, I didn't even know I needed to learn about this, much less deciding at that 5 minutes later that, yep, this is the way. So it will be interactive. So there'll be some insight-based sessions where you'll get to, talk with each other, be in some breakout rooms, answer some questions, and really be able to have some deep reflection. Healing insights and stories and metaphors. I personally love stories and metaphors because it just touches that creativity. And a supportive principles-based community, which that's what we call our community, is three principles-based community, an aspiration to really bring forth what it is that how our thoughts work that really do impact our lives, and then a clear path to becoming a nurse coach.
So yeah, what I'm realizing is I'm trying to cut and paste the actual form to register, and it's not allowing me to do that. So, but it will be coming out, by email, and our virtual assistant probably can simply send that out tomorrow.
Okay.
And so that code, Thrive, all capitals, is the one that you'll need to register for no cost, $27 value.
We should put a red line through the 27th. So we hope you'll join us and come and spend a day with us and see what everything is about. So this is your final invitation, the end of the presentation. Calm isn't just what you feel, it's who you become when you begin to listen to that inside out nature and voice for us. So join us December 30th, 10 to, what is it, 10 to 4?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we haven't made the final determination about
I know.
It's okay.
But anyway, your call matters, and your calling still counts. We'd really, really like for you to join us, and we appreciate you being here tonight.
Opportunity is missed by most people
I
because
forgot.
it comes dressed in overalls and looks like work.
Right? But well, thank you guys for listening and nodding and smiling. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes.
This is also part of becoming more visible, is learning how to say what it is that we do, and offering the services and the invitation to really come and be a part of something new.
Thank you. It was nice to get to know both of you. I don't think that date will work for me, but
Okay.
as I said, I've been getting your emails for a long time, so I will, be checking in again.
We'll be
that's
doing more. One of our things that we really want is to be more visible.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of other things too, so that's not the only opportunity to be with us.
Okay.
We're the chapter leaders of American Holistic Nurses Central Texas.
Austin.
Austin area. It's called Austin Area on Nursing Network. So, we do a once a month there. Come hang out.
Yeah.
Until you know what you want.
Exactly. Yes. Definitely.
We actually, had another chapter leader that was so inspired by the number of nurse coaches in our state. She said, well, we should just get together. So we did. We had a retreat exactly in November last year. And it was at a wonderful town that has all kinds of spas, Mineral Wells, Texas. It has lithium in the water. It's a very healing water, and the city's, as they say, built on water. So it was a fun experience for all of us. And who knows what's next? We just, have such a creative spirit in holistic nurses. Nothing is beyond us.
Well, and I think, speaking of nurses, one of our students, Carla Hay Purdue, is from Mineral Wells, which is how we found out about it. And she was the president of the Chamber of Commerce that spearheaded for her city to become a wellness destination, nationally recognized. And it's been a lot of work, but she's building community, healthy eating, healthy activities. There's certain criteria that you have to meet. They wanted to be, have you heard of a blue zone?
Yes. Yes.
So they wanted to be a blue zone, but they didn't have quite enough money. It's $1 million a year to be considered a blue zone.
Oh, wow.
But a wellness destination's about 2,500. So
yeah.
But I think it's interesting that a nurse is the one that spearheaded that. She was a nurse practitioner in her community for 48 years.
Oh,
So she
wow.
knows and has taken care of everyone in her community. And now she's one of the instructors that teaches our program at Texas Wesleyan. So
Okay.
it's a small world when we start seeing what nurses are out here doing. And, you know, another nurse coach, Kristen Reed, she's up in Boston. She's been on TV and created a wellness program for women. And she's won all kinds of awards because of the work that she's doing in her
Yeah,
community.
she works at Brigham Young,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
with all of the medical students from Yale, Harvard.
Yeah, yeah. And,
Wow.
you know, nurses making impacts. So
Yes,
it's
yes.
it's really fun to watch people grow and change. Did you have any questions for us?
Yeah, we've got a few minutes for questions. That'd be great.
No.
No,
Okay.
no, I, like I said, I wanted to just
Listen.
meet and listen. So I, I, I really appreciate you doing this. Gives
Well,
me
we
a better
appreciate you
idea.
coming. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
It's nice
Well,
to meet our Zoom friends.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that aspect of being nourished in every interaction just can't be overemphasized. I was talking to one of our students about that yesterday and explaining to her that as we coach, we are also coached by our client, and it's a two-way
Okay.
street. Yes, we're walking beside them, but they're a little bit ahead because it's their goals that are being worked on. But we can point a direction, and we can be a role model. We can see through their words where they've had insights that they haven't even noticed. And it's such fun because every conversation is an exploration and a revelation. And sometimes, well, just like every nursing conversation, the client will come back later and say, what you said that day changed my life. And of course, we have no idea what we said, but it's just the most fun thing we've ever done, the most rewarding. And the fact that it's leading edge now is just a joy to watch it grow and flourish.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, yeah, that was very helpful, and I really appreciate that. So thank you so much. I've seen both of your names before on other emails, and like
Mhm.
the nursing holistic nursing group in Texas. I've seen your names, so now it's nice to have a face and an energy that I can connect with. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I like that part too. Like when I finally get to meet the person on
Yeah,
the other end of the phone in person, or at least a face, it's really nice.
yeah, it
Yeah,
is very nice.
it is
So
very nice.
thank you again, and
Yes, thank you for being here, and we
yeah,
will
and
see you next time.
yes,
All right,
Thanks.
definitely. All
everyone,
All
take
right.
care.
right. Happy
Good
Good evening.
evening.
holidays. Bye.
Yep, you